Hi everyone, my name is Wendy. Welcome along to my Biro Drawing mark making tutorial. I was asked if I'd do some art tutorials, so I want to start off with one of the most accessible mediums that I know, which is the good old Biro. I'm sure if you have a look in there, if you've got a handbag, the bottom of your handbag or man bag, in that kitchen drawer where you put everything, anywhere in the house really, I'm sure most of you can find a biro. So all we need is a biro and some paper. I'm working on sketch paper, but that's just because I happen to have some. You can work on the back of an old envelope. If you've got old birthday cards you no longer want to keep, you can work on newspaper, but some of that's really delicate, so you have to be a little bit careful you don't split it. A lot of artists, you've probably seen these like old-fashioned book papers where they do biro drawings on them. I've done some myself, they look great, but please don't go drawing on your nearest and dearest's favourite novel or your children's favourite book. Make sure it's a book you no longer want anymore. Some people don't use the recipe books anymore. You could use that, could be anything, just some sort of paper. It doesn't matter if there's already print on it. So as far as the pen goes, again, anything. This is a cheap one, I think they're like 10 for £1. Most common are blues and blacks. You can get packs of multicoloured biros, which I'll show you some of my work later but they're still quite cheap pens. This is a slightly posher one. These are still biros though, they're not like the fibre tip ones or gel pens. You want just a cheap ball pen. And then there's lots of freebie ones. This is a lovely NHS one, so I'm going to use this one today. It's one I've been using. Lots of people give out free pens as well. So you've got your pens and you've got some paper. So don't worry to start with about trying to make an image. Look at the mark making. So this is what we're going to be studying on. So this is all based on a line. So we can draw a line. Most people can draw a line. You can draw a line across it. There you go. You've made a mark. You've done some doodling. You can try and shade if you like. This is what I started. Shading does take a bit of practice because it's to do with the pressure. And that can change pen to pen, it can change paper to paper, and also what surface. I'm on a sketchbook, so it's a little bit soft. If you're working straight on a wood table, it would be a little bit harder. So that's just something you could practice, but we're going to look more at the mark making today. So we're going to start off with hatching. So this is what these are here. So hatching are lines. Again, you can push pressure down to get a bit of dark tones if you want to go from dark to light. So there are my dark ones, there are my light ones. You can go closer and further away as well. So if you want, you can have the lines quite a long way off. You can have them close like I've done there. So I'm going to show you some that I've done. So this is a little circle that I've made. I've got a few circles to have a look at today, just to show off how the hatching and hatching works. And to add a little bit more interest, we're going to have a spot on each one where the light's hitting it, and then we've got a bit of a shadow. But don't worry about that technicality. It's about practicing with your pen and some paper. I just find these circles are a great way to start. So this is just a simple hatching. Apart from there, you can see I went back and forth there, and that's you really want, if you just want hatching, you just want your straight line. So this is just going straight across, and if it's easier you can turn your paper around. The closer the lines and the slightly more pressure, and then in there a lot darker for your shadow. So you can have a practice of that. Draw yourself, you don't have to be perfect circles for this part. You just draw yourself some quick circles, just have a little go. So that's a hatching one. I've got a couple more hatching ones to show you. So this one is also hatching. But as you can see, I've done the lines to show forming and show where the light's hitting it and show the dark areas. So I'm just building those up. If you put like a glass or a bottle in front of you and have a go at drawing them, they're good for this because you can see all the different darks and lights. So you just build it up. And this way, because I'm going in that direction, it's showing the form, it's showing that something's more than flat, to give it a bit more of a 3D. So I could come in around the bottom here as well and start adding that. And again, your shadow going across. So have a little go at that one. You can obviously pause this video or go back to them once you've found the one that you like. If you go across your hatching the other way, that then becomes what they call cross hatching, which can be straight across or it can be at an angle. You can do a few of those. And again, you can build up, I don't know if you can see in there, you build up the darker areas where they're crossing over. And again, you can have dark and fine lines. So that's cross hatching. Again, it's easy to show. So this one's a rough cross hatched, you can see, all evenly spaced, but just building it up where I want the dark and where I want the light. So you don't have to do these circles, you can just do lines, but I think it gives it a bit more of a, you can see what you're doing, a bit more of an explanation. Just keep going back. Try not to do the back and across for this one. You can do that on another technique. You can really build this up dark in there. If you're listening to music, like I've got some classic music on the background, but you can actually make your marks to the music, which is quite nice. You can get quite lost in it. Try it if you're a bit heavy rock. Scribble across. Right, so I've got one more of these to show you. So this is the same again. We're still doing the cross hatching, but this time I've managed to do a circle. I did make a few marks where the circle's going to be, but there isn't a curved line. So this one is go and cross it and keep building it up from there and across. So we've managed to build a circle out of purely straight lines, which is, if you just want something to, oh, did a little thing there. It's quite a nice thing to do, is to try and draw, or to show a circle and the dark and the light on a circle without actually drawing any curved lines. You can, but it's a nice little exercise, and you can see I'm building up the darker side on there. So that's just another form of doing a cross hatching. If you're getting really bored now with these circles, I think no more circles, can't do any more circles, well then you can get very excited and do yourself an apple. Okay, really, we're still doing the same cross hatching, but this time we're having the shape going round and up to try and show a bit more form. We've added a core to make sure it's an apple. It doesn't really have to be, and we've gone slightly out of the circle shape this time, just because apples aren't perfect. So it's showing how you can then turn these techniques into, if you want to start like doing a still life or anything like that, so they're not just there for the sake of it. So you can see how that's building up into my very healthy apple. So we could do a bottle of wine as well, or a piece of chocolate. You could do an Easter egg, what about that? There we go, all right. So that's all the different cross hatchings and hatchings. So the other marks I'm going to show you today is scribbling. I'm going to teach you to scribble, how about that? So we have a scribble. Anyone can scribble. There you go, you're scribbling. Like with the hatching, cross hatching, you might want dark areas, so you can go either over them with the same size scribble, or you can make the scribble tighter and use more pressure. We do things with our students sometimes where we have to do like a whole face without taking the pen off the paper and just do a scribble face. That's quite good. So yeah, there you go, scribble. A lot of the old artists, the old masters, because they couldn't take a photograph of the landscape, they used to go out and do a quick scribble of the landscape in a quick scribble drawing to come in to make their paintings. So I've got one of my lovely circles to show you with some scribbles. There we go. So that's scribbled. These are all done with similar size scribbles, just going over and over. But you can go back and across, you don't have to do the circle, you can just build up. And again, with the music on in the background, it's quite nice. You can sort of just get lost in the moment for a minute. There we go, scribble. Something in between a sort of scribble and the mark making is like this one I've done, which is like a loose curved one. So this is sort of in between your scribble and your cross hatching, really, isn't it? Sort of a bit more concerned than a scribble, but still keeping that loose, but showing the form, showing the shape of something, the dark and the light. Again, that's another good one for if you're out in the landscape, if you're sat on holiday, you're looking at your trees and your glass of wine at the pub table. You could just sit and have a little doodle. Nice. Last one, which is very different to these, is a thing called, well, there's two names. It's known as either stippling or pointillism. There you go. Basically dots. So you're just making dots. You make them closer together to form dark areas and further apart. I really needed to demonstrate how to do a dot, but there you go, that's a dot. You get some lovely full drawings with these. does take a lot of patience and time, but if you're the sort of person who loves just getting and listen to your music, would have to be listening to music, whatever, just want to get yourself mindful away into a distance. It might seem a bit tedious. I thought maybe, but I had to go a bigger drawing in a minute, which I'll show you, and actually I got really involved in it and loved it, so I may myself do some more full ones. Again, there are some of the old masters who paint with just dots. You might want to look some of them up. Have a look online. There's lots of people who use stippling or pointillism. Any of these things, actually, look at some other Biro drawings online. So this is what we're going to have a go at now. This is what we're turning all these into. Okay, so this is what I would call a sort of controlled doodle. Anyone who knows me will know these are the sort of doodles I like to make, so I can get a bit closer without getting too out of focus. So these are using all your cross hatching and your hatchings that we've just been playing with. I will show you one in a minute with the stippling as well. So don't be too worried, they haven't got to be as detailed as this, they're just a starting point. The reason I call them a doodle is I did look up all the scientific facts about doodling, but you can do that for yourself. I won't bore you with that now. But it has been proven that doodling, whether it's this detailed or just your simple, your simple sort of drawing a flower, however you do your doodle, that's been shown that, the colour mindfulness, that actually doodling's even better. It slows down a part of your brain that causes calmness and peace. See, I could get quite into that. So it doesn't matter what your doodle is. Apparently, it's one of the most proven ways of calming your mind, and it also helps you focus. So if you're, with someone who you're talking to and they're doodling, they could actually be really listening to you and listen to you in an even deeper way because you are doodling, because they are doodling, not you. So that's the Biro one we're going to have a go at. I've also got one here in the stippling that I was showing you about. So this is the one I made. I started to do this just thought I'd better do one as a demonstration for you, but I actually didn't realise till I started doing it how absorbing it was. I got really into it. I was outside the sunshine, just had some music on my headphones, got really involved. In fact, I'm going to have a go at a few more of these. The ones I've been showing you so far have all been like one colour ones, but obviously if you happen to have a couple of colours of Biro in your house, a lot of people used to have red because mark you. My English used to come back with a lot of red marks, and I don't know why that was. So here's two colour one. I don't personally like it as much, but that's a preference. I mean, art is all in the eye of the beholder, isn't it, as they say. You might like it, it might be better with black and blue, I don't know. Not my favourite, but it might be yours. You might like to have a go, you might have a couple of different Biros. And just to show you, in case you haven't got a Biro or you can't get on with Biro but you still like to do these doodles, you can do exactly the same thing. This is another one I've done. People know me, this is my sort of go-to doodle. This is one I've done with a pencil. This is a 2B and a 4B pencil. So exactly the same method as we're now going to do. Right, we're now going to start off the doodle. So now you get your empty wine glass and pop it down. If I can put it in, oh, that's pretty, isn't it? We'll leave it there. So draw around the base, but try not to go around totally. Try and leave a couple of gaps in. Oh, my pen's not working. There you go. I'll show you what I mean when I lift it off. You can always draw them in later. So you can see that I haven't drawn them in totally. So I've left a gap, and then the other circle. Oh, just take my ring off. I start all my doodles, all those ones you saw, always with two circles, and that's how they're all started. I don't play plan, they always come out different, but that's always my starting point. A big circle and a little one, that's a little bit in the centre. This one's not normally in the centre, but I can add another one later on. So now I always have something coming in and out. I don't know what I'm going to do, so that's right round here this time. That's why we have the gap. So let's see if I can bring that round in a nice curve. What you have to remember with Biro, of course, is you have to go with it. You can't rub it out. They can smudge though. You'd think Biro can't smudge, but if you've especially if you're working out in the sun, or you've got a hot hand and you've got a lot of ink, the ink can get on your hands like pencil do, and you can end up smudging it. So I'm going to draw myself a couple of lines here. Oh, maybe a bit further around. So where would that go? Just follow your pen line around where your line might go, and then probably out here. Hasn't got to be perfect. And then you just start shading it in, or using your hatching. So we're going across. We'll have a darker side on this side. So you could try this with the stippling. And then just building it up. If you remember on my Biro one, let me just grab you my Biro one. So you can see there, that's how I sort of started this one. So this one, I started then going outwards. I mean, if you make a mistake, that little bit was, I went off, so I just changed the shape. You can just go with anything. Added things in. So, just go with it a little bit. Don't over-plan it, don't overthink it. Just go where that is. So you might not want to do these sort of doodles, any sort of mark making. I'll quickly show you before I go some of my my actual drawings, my more more thought about drawings, I suppose, because these are said I don't really consider them, I just sort of do them. I'm probably going to carry this one on now. Look, now I don't want to stop because I started it, but you're probably getting really bored of me waffling on, so I will stop. So this is a cross hatch. You can see that it's got a thick biro pen. It's very rough, got a few marks. I was in a history lesson one time, not lesson I was in, I was just sat at the back of the room observing it, and there was some portraits on the wall of some history artists. This has got C.P. Scott. There's another one here, not sure who that is. You probably know more about history if that looks like him, of course. And this one, which I didn't do in 1890, that's William Gladstone. See, they're all portraits, they're all quite rough, they're almost scribbly in places, so just go with it. So do remember, you have to go with it, that's the only thing. It doesn't matter if they're not perfect, these eyes aren't lined up, it's just about the mark making, it's just about having a bit of fun. So this is a quick landscape I did when I was with my dog, where I used to live in a little park, used to let the dog run free, so I took my own sketchbook down with me. You can probably see this is done with two colours. This is a blue and black one, which I think works better than the other one, the red one earlier. You can just use the black just to give like the background, set that back a little bit. I mean, trees are a great thing to do with biro because you just sort of go with them. And a little bit down the bottom here, that's gone out of focus, can't we see that? That's sort of a bit scribbly. This is another one in the same sketchbook, a lot more detail. I think I did this when I was on holiday one time, sort of sat with probably a cold Effie's in Turkey or something. Very bright blue biro, this one. Lots of really dark tones, and then the gentler, all the hatching, all the cross hatching. That's the nice thing, like I said, you can sit around anywhere and have a go. I'll just grab you a couple more. So this is one I'm working on at the moment. I think I picked a different pen up because I think the air is done in a different blue. That's what I said about being very careful about, if you want to do one big picture, keep the same biro. But because of that, what I'll do, I'll end up putting slightly different blues and blacks in this. At the moment his eyes are slightly too dark compared to his nostril, but I tend to build the tone up. As I build up the tone on Michael, this is my dog Henry and my husband, lovely husband Michael. So as I build up the tone here, then I'll add the tone. It's also, I don't know if you can see, I've done this with a grid method. There is a app you can get on your phone called Artist Grid, and then any photographs you've got, you put them in there, then you can draw the grid up. I like to draw freehand, but because I'm not used to doing the animal, I was more worried about getting the proportion of Henry's nose coming down, so I've used the grid. But you see, I'm sort of, I'll show you that, I'm sort of rubbing it out as I go along. So that's another one. I'll just show you the last couple of my more detailed coloured ones, and then we'll finish. So this is obviously got lots of colour in it, lots of layers of colour. So you can buy these packs of biros, £5 or £6 for a pack of say eight coloured biros. But you don't, like you saw the others, you don't have to have colour. I don't know if you can see on here, I mean it's quite roughly done. It's got out of focus, but it's about layering the colour with these. So this part you can see is quite dense. You have to be careful you don't go through the paper, which said you can go into real details. I've got another one here, very similar. Ooh, that's a bit warped. Isn't that warped? It is straight. That's why I've got my camera. This is one of my card designs, very bright one. Again, if I can get it in close without it going to focus. Ooh. You see, again, you can see the layering of colour. Don't just put a purple, there's pinks and purples layering it up. And my very last one to show you is my signature one, the one I have on all my business cards. Again, I can't get it straight. I'll be good at this camera work. So this has got 3 or 4 different greens and blues. There you go, not quite straight. There you are, a little bit closer. It's like, just have a go. They're mine because that's what I do, but I enjoy the doodling, I enjoy the mark making, the scribbling, listening to my music, relaxing. So hopefully you've enjoyed this, and if you want to show me your work, I'd love to see it. Thanks a lot. Bye.